A small boy sitting on the floor, surrounded by toys, laughing as the camera rolled. To the world, it looked like innocence, a child having fun, opening boxes, sharing joy. But behind that smile was something else. A business, a schedule, a billion-dollar empire built on childhood itself. And now, that empire is collapsing. Ryan Kaji, once the golden boy of YouTube, is growing up. But the brand built on his childhood refuses to let him go. The videos keep coming, the toys keep selling, and his parents, Cheyenne and Lone Kaji, once praised as the ultimate family creators, are now being accused of turning their son into a brand, a product, a living investment. This isn't just the story of a YouTube channel. It's the story of what happens when childhood becomes a business model, and how one family's empire began to crumble under the weight of its own success. In 2015, it seemed harmless. A 3-year-old boy opening toys on camera. His laughter filled living rooms around the world. Parents saw joy, children saw a friend. And within months, Ryan's videos exploded. Views skyrocketed. What started as a home video turned into a cultural phenomenon. Ryan's toys reviewed as the numbers grew, so did the ambition. His parents quit their jobs. The home turned into a studio. Every corner of the house became a set. Lights, props, toys stacked high. Soon, it wasn't just YouTube anymore. It was Nickelodeon, Walmart, Macy's Parade. Ryan's face became a logo, a brand, a global franchise, but something was quietly changing. Each smile became a performance. Each wow was rehearsed. And each video blurred the line between play and profit. What looked like family fun was, in reality, a full-scale operation. A corporation disguised as childhood. The Kaji family built Sunlight Entertainment, their own studio with over 30 employees. Every day became a filming day. There was no such thing as when he feels like it. Ryan was filming up to 25 videos a week, morning routines, toy reviews, science experiments, endless brand promotions. Every reaction, every laugh, every look of surprise became part of the marketing machine. Behind the scenes, the house was no longer a home. It was a film set. Lights stayed on late. Schedules ran tight. And a child became a full-time entertainer before he even reached middle school. Critics began to notice. Parents asked, "Is this really play?" Watchdog groups stepped in, accusing the channel of mixing entertainment with undisclosed advertising. Even the Federal Trade Commission began sniffing around. The cheerful name Ryan's Toys Review quietly disappeared, replaced by Ryan's World. But it was only a new coat of paint over the same machine. The factory of childhood joy continued, efficient, profitable, unstoppable. Then came the turning point. YouTube changed. The COPPA regulation, a new law protecting children's privacy, hit like a meteor. Suddenly, kids' channels lost their golden advantage. No comments, no targeted ads, no personalized recommendations. Revenue dropped, and for Ryan's World, it wasn't a small dent. Lone herself admitted they lost 70% of their income overnight. Imagine building an empire and watching most of it vanish in a single month. The house of cards began to shake. The views slipped. The energy faded. The same algorithm that made them rich was now pulling the rug from beneath them. But instead of slowing down, the Kajis did the opposite. They pushed harder. More uploads. More deals. Anything to keep the empire alive. Even as Ryan grew tired of pretending that as the years passed, the audience changed, and so did Ryan. The toddlers who adored him became teenagers who moved on. But Ryan, now 13, was still being told to smile, to unbox, to play. The spark that once lit up every video dimmed into a faint glow. He looked older, quieter, disconnected. Every video became a reminder that time doesn't stop, even for child stars. But instead of letting him grow, his parents doubled down. They launched a movie, Ryan's World, Titan Universe Adventure. It was supposed to be their big comeback, a blockbuster for kids. But when it hit theaters, it flopped. $10 million spent. Only a few $100,000 earned. Critics called it an expensive commercial disguised as a film. The empire that began with toys now looked desperate, trying to keep a teenager trapped in a role he had already outgrown. Then came the most controversial chapter. Ryan's twin sisters, Emma and Kate, started appearing more often. New videos, new characters, new animated shows. To many viewers, it looked like a replacement plan. As Ryan aged out, His parents seemed to be grooming the next stars, preparing to pass the crown before the kingdom collapsed. The comments were brutal. People accused the family of repeating the cycle, turning childhood into a renewable resource. The same lights, the same sets, the same smiles, just new faces. It didn't feel like family content anymore. It felt like business continuity. And for the first time, the internet began to turn on them. What once looked like a success story now felt like a cautionary tale. A story of a family blinded by profit. A brand too afraid to let its child grow up. As Ryan's energy faded and his sisters began taking center stage, the internet finally had enough. The comment sections once filled with admiration turned dark. Words like exploitation, grooming, and greed began to dominate every thread. People started digging, not just into the content, but into the past, and what they found shattered the family-friendly illusion. Old court records revealed that Ryan's mother, Lone Kaji, had once faced a shoplifting charge. It was a small detail, but online, it became fuel. The public narrative shifted. This wasn't a wholesome family. It was a brand built on manipulation and control. Critics began describing Ryan's world not as entertainment, but as a symbol of everything wrong with YouTube. Parents treating their children as assets, not individuals. Interviews showed that every question the parents answered revolved around money, views, and deals. When asked about Ryan's future, they didn't talk about his happiness. They talked about the brand's survival. What once looked like success now reeked of desperation. And the audience could feel it. As the outrage grew, lawmakers began to take notice. Across the United States, conversations about kid influencer laws intensified. Politicians questioned how a child could work hours in front of a camera without the same protections given to Hollywood actors. They demanded change, trust funds, work limits, and oversight. For the Kaji family, this wasn't just a public relations issue. It was the beginning of a moral reckoning. People started to see through the carefully scripted smiles and the edited fun. Behind the scenes, it looked more like a business negotiation than a family bonding moment. Every upload became a reminder of the problem. A teenager forced to relive his own childhood on camera over and over again for profit. And the more the parents tried to act like everything was fine, the worse it looked. Supportive parents became handlers. A loving home began to look like a set. The illusion was cracking, and there was no going back. The Kajis tried everything to keep their empire alive. More spin-offs, more merchandise, more marketing. But nothing could bring back the magic. The world had moved on. The content, once full of laughter, now felt robotic. A brand trying to mimic the innocence it had already destroyed. View counts dropped. Toy lines gathered dust. The empire that once reached billions began collapsing under its own weight. Ryan himself seemed trapped between two lives, one that belonged to the internet and one he had never really lived. In interviews, he quietly said he wanted to become an animator, to draw, to create, to step behind the camera for once. But every time he spoke, one of his parents was right there beside him, ready to redirect, to manage, to control. The machine that had made him rich was now his cage, and the world was watching that cage slowly close. The Kaji family had two choices. They could let Ryan go, let him live a normal life, go to school, make art, find himself like any other teenager. Or they could keep the cameras rolling, keep squeezing every ounce of value from the brand while pretending it was still for fun. Many hoped they would choose freedom, that they would finally step back, fade out, and let their son breathe. But instead, the uploads continued. Old clips were recycled, thumbnails reused. Even younger versions of Ryan were used in new videos, to bait nostalgia, to keep toddler viewers watching. The audience saw it for what it was. Not creativity, not family fun, just survival. The channel had become a zombie, alive in numbers, dead in spirit, and every new video felt like a reminder that they had already crossed the line. Every empire built on illusion eventually falls. The story of Ryan's world is not just about YouTube, fame, or fortune. It is about what happens when a childhood is treated like a brand. When moments meant to be lived are turned into products meant to be sold. Ryan deserves peace. He deserves a chance to grow up without a camera watching every step. To go to school, to laugh without thinking of content, to create without pressure, to be a kid again. But the tragedy is that his life has already been turned into content, and the internet never forgets. If the family chooses to walk away now, they could still save what remains of their dignity. They could show the world that love is worth more than views. But if they keep going, if they keep chasing the brand, then the ending will not be a happy one. It will be a slow unraveling, one public misstep after another, until all that remains of Ryan's world is a cautionary tale about how greed destroyed a family empire. Because childhood is not a renewable resource. It is fragile, fleeting, and once it is gone, it never returns. And no amount of money can buy it back.